What's up, everybody? Once again, this is Terrence Warren, CCNP, the Cisco Tutor guy. And right now, I'm going to do a VTP packet tracer lab to just kind of explain what VTP does and and how it is useful in the network. So anyway, VTP, Virtual Trunking Protocol, is what it does is when you have an enterprise, a business or whatever, and they have multiple switches in their network, let's say 30, 40, a lot, right? Well, you don't want to go to each switch to configure the same information over and over and over. I mean, you'll get real good at it doing it that way, but you don't want to do that. So, Virtual Trunking Protocol, VTP, allows you to designate one switch as the server and the others as the client. And once you do that, all your changes can be made in one switch and they'll populate in the other switches without you having to manually put all that information. You just have to maybe put the domain or something like that. Now, with VTP, there's three modes. There's server, client, and transparent. And I want to demonstrate all three of those modes with this lab. So let's get started. We're going to go to the first switch. All right, and in actuality, by default, it's already going to be in server mode. So that's the command is VTP mode server. And see, the router, the switch tells us that it's already in server mode. See, device mode already VTP server. So we don't really have to set it to server mode. We just have to set the others to client mode. So let's create our domain, VTP domain, and we give it a name. I'm going to call it Warren. That sounds like a cool name. All right, so now it's changing it from null to warm. So it's recognizing that I want to change the domain to warm. Now we create our VLANs. VLAN 10. Name. I'm thinking of work. So let's say data. Data. VLAN 20. Name. Voice. VLAN 30. Management. All right, so where was I? Oh, I was creating it. Okay, we got our VLANs created. We got our domain name created. Now we have to take that port 24, and make it a dump port. So we interface FA 0/24 port mode. All right, so the port is up now. So now let's go over to the net. Well, before we go to the net, let's verify VTP status. Oh. Where did you go? Oh, okay. Now, see. Let's try it now. Oh. Alright. So, okay. Here goes our VLANs that we created. The data, the voice, and the management. Show VTP status. And here it's showing the domain name is Warren. It's showing 8 VLANs. Now the reason why it's showing 8 VLANs is because it's showing the 3 that we created plus these default VLANs that aren't being used anymore. So that's why it's showing 8. Alright, so let's go to the next switch. And what I want to do, make sure it's in the right, oh, we got to set it to client. So VTP mode, client. So now it's changing it from default to client. Now, let's see if the information is populated already before I check anything else. Because usually if you change it to client, all the VLAN information is already going to come over that port 24. But let's check for right now. Let's say show VTP status. Yep, and just like I said, we see there's our 8 VLANs. There's our VLAN name. So we do a show VLAN, and there are the 3 that we created, and then there's the other default, the 1, and then these 4, which gives us 8. So all the information populated from the server switch to this switch. So this third switch, we're going to do something different. Okay, we're going to set this one to transparent mode. VTP mode transparent. So it's going to transparent mode, and we also got to set these ports to trunk ports. So port 23 on this router, switch, should be a trunk port also. Port 23. See? Alright, so the port is up. Now, let's go back and check. Okay, because we set this one in transparent mode. And what transparent mode does is it passes information through the switch, but it doesn't retain any, and it doesn't participate in any information because it's in transparent mode, like a ghost, like trying to play dodgeball with the ghost. You can throw the ball to him, but it will just go through him to the next person. He can't catch it. He can't participate. He can't really play it. So what transparent mode is doing in this topology is only going to pass information along. It's not going to retain it. But let's check. Let me show you. Show VTP status. And if you notice, it's only showing 5 VLANs, which are the default VLANs. And it's not even showing our domain name. Let's do this. Show VLAN. And none of the VLANs that we created that populated in the other switch are showing. So let's add one more switch to this. Right here. Let's add our cables. And once again, port 24. 24. Alright. So I'm going to go in this fourth switch. I'm going to make 24 port 24 and to the front port. Switch port mode T. Okay, so the port is up. And we're going to set this one to client as well. So VTP mode client. So just by setting it to client mode, let's see if any information passed through and populated. So show VTP status. Not quite. So let's add it to the VTP domain. See if it, VTP domain Warren. Alright, so it just added this switch to the Warren VTP domain. Now let's see if it did that. Show VTP status. And as you can see, it did. You see that? So it's showing the 8 VLANs. It's showing the VTP domain name. It's showing that we're in client mode. Let's see if the VLANs populated. And they did, because there are our 3 VLANs that we created. Now, what happened was the server sent the information to each switch that was designated as client. But this one here, that's still in transparent mode. Let's see if anything changed. Show VTP status. No, nothing changed. Show VLAN. Nothing has changed at all. We still, the VLAN still didn't populate. None of the information populated in this switch. Yet it passed through this switch onto this 4th switch that we added. That's in client mode. So that's how VTP works. So when you have more than 2 or 3 switches on a network, that's because in my company we might have 6 switches in one building, and so that you don't have to go to each switch to get the same information, you just designate one switch as a server, the others as the client, and it helps you to get along faster, because that information is going to populate in the other switches. Someone asked me, why would anyone want to designate a switch as transparent as to just designating all of them to client? And the reason for that is because some switches may be participating in other things that you don't want. Like when they update, when one switch sends updates or advertisements to the rest of them, it may change the configuration or the revision numbers, which could screw up the network, could cause all types of problems. So sometimes you don't want a switch to participate in VTP. Sometimes you want to manually do things. So that's why you wouldn't always configure everything as client. You may need to configure switches in transparent mode. So this was the VTP lab. I hope you understood the concept and got a lot out of it. I like doing these videos, and I thank you for watching. Once again, this is Terrence Warren, CCNP, the Cisco Tutor Guy, and thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more videos. Check out my website, ciscotutorguy.com, and I'll see you then.